Branch lines are vital to the South Manhattan Railway. Besides taking passengers who live in towns and villages far from the main line, they provide many goods and freight to transport. Duck's branch line has ballast and wool. Edward has goods such as fruits, china, clay, along with cargo from the harbor. And Thomas has dairy, livestock, and stone from the quarry. All of this compiles into long trains on the main line for the bigger engines like Henry and James to take out on long journeys to busy junctions across the island. One day at the sheds, James was boasting, "It would be nice to have a branch line of my own," he said to the other engines. "Don't you think?" "You?" exclaimed Henry and Gordon. "Why not? At least I would know where my next train will be coming from," James said. "What about the freight cars?" Gordon replied. "You'd have to do your own shunting," Henry chimed in. "Well," James replied hesitantly. He didn't really like shunting and preferred pulling freight cars than that. "Anyway, branch lines aren't so bad. I don't know why you don't like them, Gordon." "I like my freedom," he said. "I like a good run from my wheels. Scope to use my talents. You wouldn't understand, little James." Gordon, remembering his own mishaps on Edward's branch line, was not something he wanted to remember. James puffed into the station. He was going to be taking the stopping passenger train instead of goods. He was delighted, but didn't like to be early. James was soon out on the main line. He kept thinking about having his own branch line. He was making good timing and was soon puffing back on his journey home. When he reached the top of Gordon's Hill, his driver made sure to pin down his brakes coming down as Edward's station laid at the bottom of the hill. Luckily he did. The points were diverted into a siding at the station suddenly. "Stop!" yelled James. He veered into a platform that wasn't made for passengers but for goods. The fireman went to talk to the signalman to put them back on the proper line. The signalman tried to reset the points to let James out, but he couldn't. "We can't switch you back to the main line," the signalman said. "You'll have to stay here until it's fixed." "He can't," said the station master. "Edward has to use this platform in a quarter of an hour. We'll have to put James in a goods yard." So they did, and James's passengers disembarked. Edward bustled in. "Well," Edward said, "you can help me out here in the yard. Everything has been such a mess since Boko is away." James, who didn't like shunting, did so anyway. James worked very hard pushing and sorting out the goods in the yard. The yard manager came to see Edward and James that night. "The points are going to take longer than expected to be repaired. You'll be here for quite a while." "It's nice to get a taste of being a Branchline engine, James," said Edward. James, feeling quite important, thought this as a great opportunity. James the Branchline engine. "What do you think of that?" he said to himself. Gordon, the next day, stopped at the station. "Found any good branch lines, James?" James, feeling quite upset, retorted, "This just shows how much the top hat depends on me," he said. "Now go puff off somewhere else." Eventually, James did get tired. The cars in the yard were all put into their proper places, and James had to wait idle in the yard until Edward brought another train from the docks. Edward spoke to him. "I really can't thank you enough for helping me," he said. "He's right," said the yard manager. "The yard hasn't been tidy in a long time." The points were mended, and James went back to the sheds. Gordon and Henry thought it a good joke that James got stuck at the station for a few days. But James, rethinking his own position of having his own branch line, gained a new respect for the engines who did work on them, as he did like his freedom.